Experience a miraculous life. 7 divine secrets to freedom from worry, status, and sacred abundance. Eleanor Green knelt before the flickering candles in the chapel of Willowbrook, her heart heavy yet hopeful. Each flame danced with divine whispers, promising miracles just beyond the veil of despair. "Freedom from worry," she murmured, clutching her rosary tighter. How could it be possible? As a devout mother, she wholeheartedly believed in the power of prayer. And yet, the mounting bills and her son's declining health chipped away at her faith like unrelenting waves against a shore. Just then, a warm breeze swooshed through the chapel, and the air shimmered with a golden light. With wide eyes, Eleanor gazed up at the statue of St. Jude. "Is it you?" she wondered, her heart racing with anticipation. She had always believed that signs from above were sent to those who dared to hope. The moment wrapped around her like a tender embrace, igniting the flicker of faith hidden beneath layers of doubt. Days passed, and James grew weaker. The village doctor, a stalwart figure with a voice like gravel, had given Eleanor the heartbreaking news. She felt as if the earth beneath her feet had shattered. "We may need to prepare for the worst," he warned, his eyes softening just for her. Eleanor felt her heart constrict. What of the divine protection she had always trusted? How could God let this happen? Then, a traveling pastor arrived, as if sent by the luminous stars themselves. His words fell on the congregation like warm rain. "7 divine secrets," he cried, his voice resonating like thunder. "Secrets to freedom, secrets to abundant life." Eleanor, caught up like the rest, leaned forward, her despair momentarily forgotten. She felt a stirring of purpose. And maybe, just maybe, a light at the end of this dark tunnel. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications, so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. That whisper of faith ignited something in Willowbrook. Eleanor gathered neighbors on her porch, each soul carrying unspoken burdens. She shared her tale, revealing the pastor's message, and as she spoke, the room filled with electric energy. Murmurs of support blossomed like spring flowers. Together they prayed, their voices intertwining like the most sacred harmony. But Charles, her husband, watched from the shadows, troubled brow furrowed as he fought against the swell of community faith. His doubts churned like dark clouds over a sunny day, creating tension that pulled their family apart. "What good is prayer?" he would argue, embers of frustration flickering in his eyes. Each word pierced Eleanor's heart, yet she persevered, clinging desperately to those 7 secrets, to the promises of divine intervention. As the village rallied around her family with prayer vigils and casseroles, Eleanor sensed a shift. The air crackled with expectancy. But in this moment of collective faith, a shocking turn unfolded. James's condition took a drastic downward spiral. In the sterile hospital room, with monitors beeping like ominous warnings, Eleanor felt the weight of despair close in around her. This was it, the moment where hope hung by a thread. She closed her eyes tightly. "Lord, if you can hear me," she breathed, allowing the warmth of faith to envelop her. That warmth grew, pulsating like a heartbeat, echoing through the room, a presence unmistakable and tender. With the community gathered outside, prayers mingled like fragrant incense. Eleanor, caught in a celestial embrace, lifted her head, a new light glimmering in her heart. Could this miracle be real? In the silence, she waited, heart racing as the air felt charged with a promise yet to be fulfilled. What was God preparing to unveil in this pivotal moment? Would faith triumph over her fears? Eleanor felt an electric pulse in the air, a heartbeat synced with her own. What if, she whispered, caught in the tendrils of hope. What if this is our moment? The room was heavy with the scent of antiseptics, but increasingly lightened by the spirit of expectancy. She scanned the sterile room. Her son lay still, a fragile form wrapped in sheets, every rise and fall of his chest like a prayer itself, a plea for healing. As the silence enveloped her, she recalled the pastor's fervent words about the power of collective belief. Your faith can uproot mountains. The scripture echoed softly in her heart, prodding her to claim that promise. Outside, the gathered villagers lifted their voices. Their prayers mingled into a beautiful tapestry of devotion, stitching the fabric of community together, a shield around Eleanor's family. She felt that warmth again, expanding from her heart, filling every corner of the room. Lord, let your will be done, she breathed, tears cascading down her cheeks. This prayer was not for herself, but for James, an act of surrender, a willing offering for the miracle she dared to imagine. She pictured the image of a healthy boy, laughter spilling like sunlight, once again vibrant and whole. If the divine secrets were true, surely calling forth faith could change the outcome. Just then, as if a veil had been lifted, Eleanor heard a soft rustling. It was faint, yet it pulled her attention. Her eyes opened to find James's eyelids fluttering. A sign? His lips moved slowly, forming words that electrified the air between them. Mom, he whispered, catching Eleanor off guard. I see light. So much light. Her breath caught in her throat, hope blooming anew. Encouraged, Eleanor leaned closer. What do you see, sweetheart? Tell me. He smiled faintly, lost in a vision only he could comprehend. There's a garden, and angels are laughing. They're telling me not to worry. Each word floated to Eleanor like a gentle breeze in the chapel. In that moment, she felt a connection to something greater, to heaven, to love, to the miraculous. The stillness of the room shattered with roaring faith as neighbors began to burst into the room, unable to contain themselves. They encircled James and Eleanor, hands reaching forward, their voices lifting into a crescendo of gratitude and praise. God, we thank you. You are the healer, they proclaimed in unity. Eleanor felt their strength surge around her, a tangible vibe of belief mingled with emotion. It felt like a divine current flowing through that sterile room, casting aside shadows of despair. James's eyes sparkled with an innocence that spoke volumes, but the gratitude didn't come without its weight. Eleanor's heart swelled with love, yet fear still lingered, like a ghost perched on her shoulder. Would this spark continue to glow? Could they truly step into divine freedom together? In that sacred circle, the weight of Charles's doubt crept back into her thoughts. She remembered those bitter nights when his frustrations echoed and hurt mingled with faith. Is this enough? Eleanor pondered, clutching her son's hand. Did she have the strength to carry this hope if the world around her faltered? At that moment, a peculiar calm spread through her spirit. The secret to freedom had begun to unfold. She could feel not just her own faith growing, but an entire community woven into a single prayerful heart. God must have a plan, she thought, allowing a smile to break across her face. But then she remembered. What if the journey was just beginning? What awaited them on the other side of this miracle? With those questions in her heart, Eleanor prepared herself for whatever lay ahead. What was the next divine secret waiting to be revealed? As the prayers swirled around them like fragrant incense, Eleanor felt a transformative energy ripple through the room. It danced upon her skin, a reminder of the cycles of faith and doubt she had navigated as a mother. She held James's fragile hand tighter, determined to anchor him to her heart, but the weight of uncertainty lingered. Mom? James's voice pulled her from reverie, cracking the surface of her fear. Do you feel them too? The angels? Eleanor's heart raced, "Yes, sweetheart, I do." Her voice trembled with an unexplainable warmth. They were not alone. Who could deny that the heavenly throng encircled them with love? In that moment, they became a living testament of what it meant to believe, to clasp onto hope despite the shadows that threatened to creep in. The villagers, faces aglow with fervor, poured into the room, their eyes reflecting the same light that had captivated James. Among them was Margaret, the elderly matriarch known for her steadfast faith. Every time she prayed, it felt as if the heavens could not help but listen. "Let the light flow, Lord," she exclaimed, raising her arms as if beckoning for an outpouring of blessings. A warm breeze stirred, and Eleanor swore she could sense a tangible presence amidst them, like a soft caress brushing the hair from her brow. The manager of the hospital, normally stoic, joined the gathering with an expression that mingled disbelief and awe. "I've never seen anything like this," he whispered to Eleanor, his voice trembling with reverence. Jubilant melodies filled the air, lifting spirits high. Eleanor felt her joy intertwined with the collective jubilance. It was electric, more vibrant than life itself. She closed her eyes, inhaling deeply. A prayer of gratitude lodged in her throat. Yes, they were standing on the precipice of something monumental. But just as swiftly, Eleanor's thoughts returned to her home, a tangle of worry and Caleb's disdain for vulnerability. Would this profound experience alter the course of their family? Or would the echoes of doubt drown out the symphony of faith that flourished here? "Eleanor," a voice broke through her introspection. It was John, a friend from their church. He stepped forward, eyes ablaze with resolve. "There's a fire in our community, burning brighter than any darkness. We can't let our faith wane after this moment. We must build on it." Eleanor nodded, feeling emboldened. Yes, a community united can hold more light. But her heart wrestled with her fears. Could collective strength outweigh the fragility of one? In that stillness, love blossomed fiercely within her spirit. Faith wasn't merely a passive waiting. It was active, ready to be drawn forth like a wellspring. She thought of James's vision, of angels sharing laughter. Was it possible the divine awaited more than just their pleas? Perhaps God invited them into an unfolding adventure of wonder. As cheers and songs erupted around them, a new wave of determination washed over Eleanor. "We're here for more than healing," she realized. "We're here for transformation." With newfound fervor, she turned towards the crowd, heart pounding. "Let us share this promise beyond these walls. Let our voices echo into the world." The congregation erupted with a collective shout, a chorus of enthusiasm that sent a shiver of joy through Eleanor's veins. Yet amid their celebration, a shadow of doubt flickered. What might come next? Was this only the beginning, or was something more significant brewing just beneath the surface? Among the rapture, she glimpsed Charles standing at the doorway, his gaze wavering as he watched. She sensed a change in him, though the full extent remained shadowed. What role would he play in this divine tapestry? Eleanor's heart ached with curiosity and hope. The next chapter of their journey loomed ahead, a mystery wrapped in faith. What revelations awaited them on this sacred path? As the joyful cries of the congregation swelled and fell like waves lapping against a shore, Eleanor felt the pulse of a profound connection binding them together. Each voice lifted in harmony sounded like a prayer woven into a greater tapestry, reverberating through her very being. The air quivered with expectancy, as if the walls themselves yearned to share in their collective faith. "Do you see?" John's voice cut through, electrifying the crowd's fervor. "Together, we are stronger. Together, we can light the way." His eyes glinted like stars amidst the deepening evening. The villagers erupted, their hands raised as if to embrace the divine presence that was palpably in the room. Eleanor's heart surged with a warmth that felt almost otherworldly. The fear that had haunted her moments prior began to dissipate like mist under the morning sun. Wrapped in the embrace of her community, she witnessed a beautiful truth emerge. Healing wasn't just for James, wasn't solely about physical restoration, but a communal awakening, an invitation for every heart present to recognize their shared divinity. Yet as she glanced at Charles again, a weight hung between them, an invisible line straining under the weight of unspoken words. Could this pivotal moment fracture old doubts or mend the wounds that had surfaced in their marriage? Her spirit wrestled with conflicting emotions, each pulse of joy battling the ache in her chest. "Eleanor, look!" James pulled her attention back to the moment, his young face illuminated with wonder. His gaze toyed with the colors swirling above, where a golden light seemed to shine brighter than before. The angels he had imagined danced just beyond the vision of grown-ups, framing the reality that danced just past the everyday. "It's like they're smiling at us." Tears began to gather in Eleanor's eyes. She felt the warmth of heaven brushing against her, a reminder that even in life's fiercest storms, their love had been a guiding beacon. With renewed courage, she raised her voice, letting it spiral up in song alongside her neighbors. Margaret caught her eye, standing steadfast amidst the joy. "Your journey is our journey, dear Eleanor. We are here for you." The weight of that acknowledgement made Eleanor's legs tremble as waves of relief washed over her. With collective desire brewing, Eleanor felt an unquenchable thirst for assurance that God was working through each of them as one. It was more than a call to rally. It was a new chapter taking flight. "Shall we venture to the garden?" A voice chimed from the crowd, sparking a wave of agreement. "Let us take our prayers to the earth." Eleanor turned towards the door, the warm evening beckoning them forth into the realm of potential and purpose. As they stepped outside, the aroma of blooming flowers intertwined with the fragrance of hope in the air. She felt the ground solid beneath her feet, grounded yet soaring. As shadows of dusk began to blanket the horizon, she couldn't shake the thrilling sensation of possibility. What awaited them in the garden? Would the very seeds of their collective faith sprout new life? And as they formed a circle with hands clasped together beneath the heavens, Eleanor sensed the tug of the divine whispering through their unity, coaxing them into a deeper understanding of love. The sky turned shades of indigo and violet, announcing that they had more to learn, more to believe, and more to become. With anticipation growing, Eleanor glanced at Charles once more. A question formed in her heart. Would he step forward into this promise with her? As the congregation lifted their prayers, she wondered, would a deeper revelation usher them into a future filled with grace and courage? And just then, the first star twinkled into view, as if responding specifically to her silent yearning. What truth awaited them in the night? Would they find the courage to mend and redefine their bonds? Eleanor knew they were on the brink of something sacred, a divine unfolding that could transform every heart gathered under that starry sky. What miracles might emerge as they began to tread this new path together? As they gathered in the garden, the air thickened with an electrifying sense of hope. The fragrant blossoms whispered secrets of love and resilience, filling their lungs with a sweet promise. Eleanor held onto Charles's hand, feeling the warmth of his skin, yet struggling to comprehend the storm of emotions swirling within. "Look at the stars!" James exclaimed, his voice inflected with wonder as he pointed skyward. "They are shining just for us." Eleanor couldn't help but smile at his innocent faith. It reminded her that sometimes clarity emerged in the simplest of moments. She closed her eyes for a brief second, allowing the cool breeze to brush against her cheeks as if the universe was caressing her spirit. When the congregation began to pray, their voices formed a beautiful tapestry, a harmony that resonated within the earth itself. The words floated gently into the night, a melody of yearning and joy mingling together. Eleanor raised her voice alongside them, her heart swelling with every note. "Dear God, bless us with strength," a voice cried out, carried by the rising breeze. Eleanor felt goosebumps march across her skin as that simple plea echoed within her. It wasn't merely about physical strength. It was the kind that mended relationships, healed hearts, and nurtured souls. Here, in this sacred gathering, The divine spirit thrived, igniting flickers of belief in every participant. As the chorus of believers enveloped the space, Eleanor felt the barriers inside Charles begin to soften. His grip on her hand tightened, as if he could sense the transformation brewing around them. Hope danced in the air like fireflies, quickening the pulse of their shared connection. "Eleanor," Charles finally spoke, his voice a gentle tremor. "I feel it too." His eyes met hers, and in that moment the weight they had both carried began to lighten. It was a revelation flickering around them like the gentle glow of the first stars. It beckoned them to embrace the change, to step boldly into a future that shared promises instead of doubts. The garden around them shone under the growing starlight. "What if we choose to rebuild, to forgive, to love?" Charles asked softly, his heart opening, revealing depths of vulnerability previously hidden. Eleanor found herself nodding, tears brimming as she felt understanding breaching the distance that had laid between them. John's voice boomed again. "Let's take our prayers to the earth and plant the seeds of our faith in love." The crowd responded with fervor, their faith a powerful force rippling through the night. As they began to scatter small seeds into the cool, rich earth, Eleanor felt an exhilarating thrill. They weren't just planting seeds in soil, they were planting hope, nurturing dreams, and cultivating a future. Each handful that fell through their fingers held intention: hope for unity, joy for healing, faith for love. With each drop of soil that fell, the congregation swelled, not simply as individuals, but as a testament to what could be achieved together. But beneath the surface, beneath the joy, Eleanor sensed a deeper stirring, a whisper of uncertainty. Would they all be ready for the journey that lay ahead? Eleanor paused, her heart racing with anticipation. What if the seeds sprout life we never envisioned? She wondered aloud. The thought hung in the air, a question begging to be answered. Would they be prepared to nurture what had begun? As the stars twinkled overhead, Eleanor felt an urge to embrace the mystery of faith. What lay just beyond this moment of hope? What unforeseen paths might their prayers unlock? The garden pulsed with a promise, waiting for their response. As they formed tighter links in their circle, the presence of something divine warmed the night air, and Eleanor could sense the possibilities beginning to unfold. Would they uncover the answers they sought? Would the roots of their collective faith embed deeply into their hearts? A new chapter beckoned, full of divine surprises, and with it came the question that lingered. Were they ready to embrace the sacred journey ahead? The night deepened, and the air shimmered with anticipation, as if the stars themselves held the promise of new beginnings. Eleanor could feel the gentle hum of the earth beneath her feet, a reminder of the seeds they had planted together. This was not just an act, it was a declaration of faith, a unity bound by collective hope. "We are breathing in the future," Eleanor whispered to Charles, her heart fluttering with the possibility. He looked at her, eyes glimmering, understanding dawning upon him like the first light of dawn. Together, they stood not just as individuals, but as part of something far greater. A community woven through shared experiences, sorrows, and now aspirations. "Look around," James said softly, his voice filled with wonder. "We are all connected." The warmth of his words enveloped the gathering like a soft blanket. Eleanor couldn't help but glance at the others, their faces illuminated by starlight, reflecting hope and compassion. Faith often blooms unexpectedly, she thought, and right now its fragrance filled the air like sweet incense. As they continued to pray, John called out, "Let us not only plant seeds, but nurture them with our actions." The force of his words hung in the air, igniting a flurry of enthusiasm. Each person seemed to respond to the call, nodding and murmuring words of agreement. Eleanor felt buoyed by the energy of the group. What if our love becomes the rain nurturing these seeds? She pondered aloud, and a gentle ripple of agreement swept through them. It was a simple thought, yet brimming with profound implications. They could be makers of miracles, tending to the lives they had just begun to cultivate. Yet, in the back of her mind, a quiet apprehension took root. Were they truly prepared for what might sprout from the ground? Would their hearts expand to embrace the fullness of love, even when challenged? Would they still cling to their faith when the storms threatened to tear them apart? The breeze picked up again, swirling through the garden, carrying whispers of doubts along with promises. Eleanor looked at the stars, those faithful lights piercing the night, each one a reminder that they were never alone. Somehow, amidst the uncertainty, she felt that divine assurance unfurling within her soul. Tonight, we gather not just for ourselves, but for those who came before us and for those yet to come, John proclaimed. His voice reverberated with authority, grounding the moment in shared legacy. Let us be the ones to break chains of despair and usher in the love that transforms lives. Eleanor's heart surged. What if they could truly illuminate the path for others? What if faith was the beacon drawing lost souls home? She felt the stir of excitement cascade through the circle, touching each heart, igniting embers of purpose. But as her spirit soared, uncertainty whispered again. How could they ensure their commitment endured? Could their small acts of love ignite a wildfire of transformation in their community? Would they be strong enough to face the challenges that lay ahead? The brilliance of stars painted the night with questions yet unanswered, their light twinkling like divine invitations. Each flicker seemed to beckon them to venture forward, to embrace not just the easy joy, but the beautiful struggle that faith often demands. Eleanor watched as mingled laughter and prayers rose into the night, a tapestry of trust woven in that sacred garden. And as they rejoiced, she couldn't help but feel they were on the cusp of something monumental, a ripple that could touch lives immeasurably. What awaited them on this journey? What faith-filled challenges would require them to dig deeper, to nurture their growing dreams? With the seeds tucked safely in the earth, the congregation surrounded her with a warmth that felt almost tangible. A sweet anticipation filled the air, drawing them all closer together. Yet the question lingered, leaving a tapestry of wonder woven into Eleanor's soul. Were they ready to face whatever lay ahead? What miracles awaited just around the corner? The dawn broke gently, casting a soft glow on the garden, the remnants of their night vigil still fresh in the air. Birds began their morning song, a melody of hope. That's how Eleanor felt inside, her heart still buzzing with last night's calling. It was as if the very earth had absorbed their prayers and now stood ready for transformation. Eleanor watched her friends gather once more, their faces still illuminated by wonder. There was a spirit of unity that filled them like light on a new day. Each of them carried the weight of the night with a sense of shared purpose. "Let's not allow dawn to diminish what we felt last night," Charles said, stretching his arms wide as if to embrace the morning sun. "This is just the beginning." His excitement was contagious, and a chorus of amens followed. Each voice seemed to rise into the cool morning air, a bright promise of what lay ahead. "Look," said Mary, pointing to the freshly turned soil they had nourished. "Those seeds, remember? They require us now. We must tend to them with love and patience." Her words resonated deeply, and Eleanor understood that nurturing was more than physical labor. It was a commitment of the heart. Thoughts of the previous night washed over Eleanor, mingling with the sunlight filtering through the leaves. The seeds were not just plants, but symbols of their faith. "What if we relate these little seeds to our faith?" she mused aloud. "Every act of kindness, every moment of connection we share is like watering them, giving them room to grow." "Yes," interjected John, his eyes bright. "In fact, sometimes those acts ask us to dig deeper than we thought possible. Just like these seeds will struggle to break through the soil, we too will need resilience to survive the trials ahead." The fervor in his voice ignited a spark within the group. They paused, absorbing the wisdom of their words, as if the universe itself nudged them to awaken to a greater truth. How many times had they faltered under pressure? How many times had they felt the weight of doubt? "Faith isn't always easy," James whispered, almost to himself, yet loud enough for all to hear. It requires us to believe without seeing, to trust without knowing. It's a sacred dance of surrender and strength. Can we do that together? His earnest question hung delicately in the air. Eleanor felt her heart swell. It was this very community that could hold them accountable, lifting each other up in moments of weakness. We can commit to each other, she affirmed, glancing around at the weaving expressions of agreement. Each prayer, each gesture, it can become a lifeline. They began to share stories, past moments when faith had sparked change, weaving experiences into the fabric of their gathering. Laughter and tears mingled in their exchange. Vulnerability blossomed as they painted pictures of dreams and fears. As the morning sun climbed higher, a shimmering light danced through the branches above, creating a luminous glow around them. Eleanor's spirit soared under its embrace. Could this truly be the foundation for something beautiful? Could their love become an unfettered force of change in their community? Just then, a rustle from the bushes caught their attention. A young girl, no older than 10, peered out with wide eyes, curiosity sparkling within her. "What are you doing?" she asked, innocence radiating from her small frame. Eleanor exchanged glances with her friends, smiles bursting forth from their shared understanding. This was a message from the divine, a reminder of the innocence and purity of faith. "Come join us," Eleanor beckoned, her voice warm and inviting. "We're planting seeds of hope." The girl approached hesitantly, but with eagerness, becoming yet another thread in their growing tapestry of faith. As the group welcomed her into their circle, Eleanor felt a new potential blooming. They were no longer just a congregation, they were a community, a family. Yet, amid the joy and connection, a question arose in her heart. What could one faithful girl, intertwined with their purpose, ignite in the world? Would she carry this light forward into a world that often felt dark? Eleanor looked toward the horizon, the dawning light holding both promise and challenge. What was next for them all? Only time would reveal what miracles awaited as they stepped deeper into their shared journey. The sun climbed higher, brightening not just the garden, but also the spirits of those gathered. A sense of divine purpose hung in the air, woven tightly with threads of hope and unity. Eleanor turned to the young girl, whose name they learned was Lila, as she knelt beside them, eager to learn. "Lila, do you know why we plant seeds?" Eleanor asked gently, her heart warm with compassion. Lila's brow furrowed in thought. "To grow plants?" she replied, her innocence shining through. "Yes, but it's more than that," Eleanor continued, her voice rich with passion. "When we plant, we are also making a promise to care, to nurture, and to bring forth life. Just like we nurture our faith, we can help each other grow." The little girl's eyes sparkled as she understood the depth of their endeavor. "Can I help?" she asked eagerly, reaching for a small spade. "Absolutely," Mary chimed in, handing her the tool. "Every hand can bring change, Lila. Even the smallest hands can cultivate the biggest dreams." With renewed enthusiasm, Lila began to dig in the soil, her energy infusing the group. It felt as if the very earth responded to this child's innocence, vibrating with possibility. Each shovel of dirt was a boundless act of faith. Each seed planted a shared commitment to a brighter future. As they worked together, laughter rang out, mixing with the chirps of the birds. The garden transformed into a sanctuary of joy and connection. It was a healing balm for their spirits, washing away remnants of doubt and fear. But as they toiled, Eleanor noticed a shift. A cloud passed over the sun, casting a shadow across the group. The mood lightened, but then faltered slightly. It was a reminder that darkness often encroaches when light seems brightest. "Remember, friends," she urged, "even in moments of uncertainty, let's bind ourselves to one another. Darkness only has power where there's division." A moment of silence followed, the weight of her words hanging in the air. Each member of the circle became a mirror, reflecting Eleanor's confidence. They smiled, sharing glances of encouragement, reaffirming their bond. Suddenly, John raised his hands triumphantly. Just like these seeds, sometimes we must break through the darkness to reach the light. We grow by embracing our challenges. His words struck a chord, lifting the shadows that had brushed against their hearts. Each of them remembered the battles they had fought, how they had risen stronger through trials, and the collective affirmation rallied their spirits into a symphony of resilience. "Look at us! Look at Lila!" Charles exclaimed joyfully, gesturing to the girl who now danced in delight, her small hands covered in soil, her laughter pure. We are planting not just for ourselves. Our faith becomes a model for others, especially for those who follow. Eleanor felt the edges of her heart expand. They were partaking in a divine blueprint, forging connections not only among themselves, but extending outward, rippling into their community. This was more than a garden. This was a living testimony of faith, a beacon for those lost in shadows. As they planted, a gentle breeze whispered through the trees, and Eleanor paused, realizing they were now a tapestry woven through shared experience, not just of joy, but of struggle, commitment, and love. Just then, Lila stood up, her expression changing to one of profound seriousness. "Will the seeds really grow into something beautiful?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Eleanor knelt beside her, the weight of the girl's question heavy yet hopeful. "They will," she assured her, "if we nurture them, just like our faith." Before she could elaborate, the sky darkened suddenly. Thunder rumbled softly in the distance, and a shiver coursed through the gathering. Was it an omen? Or simply nature's way of testing their faith? As the clouds gathered above them, Eleanor sensed a turning point. A choice loomed ahead, for every raindrop to become nourishment or a trial. What lay ahead as they faced this impending storm? Would their resolve deepen, or would fear take root where trust had flourished? A new chapter was about to unfold. As the first drop of rain fell, a hush enveloped the garden. It was as if the earth paused to inhale, waiting for the next moment, the next heartbeat of life. Eleanor looked at each face, reading the mixture of anticipation and trepidation. The storm could invigorate their plants or wash away their labor. "Friends," she began, keeping her voice steady, "just as storms can feel overwhelming, they also carry the gift of renewal. Let's not shy away from what's to come. Instead, let's prepare ourselves to receive." Lila, looking up with her wide, innocent eyes, raised her tiny hands toward the sky. "Like God's love?" she asked. The simplicity of her question pierced through the tension like a ray of sunlight breaking through a cloud. "Yes, just like that, Lila." Eleanor smiled. "God's love is always pouring down, even when it feels heavy. We can choose to let it wash over us, to let it grow us." In that moment, the rain cascaded down, turning the earth into a dark, glistening canvas. Each drop became a drumbeat of encouragement against the leaves, harmonizing with their hearts. As the storm intensified, Mary grabbed Lila's hand, leading her to a sheltered spot at the edge of the garden. "Come on, everyone," Mary called out. "Let's find our sanctuary amid the storm. We can still be together. We can still support one another." The group gathered under the thick foliage of a nearby tree, protected from the downpour, yet close enough to the garden planted with promise. The spirit of resilience burned brightly within them, vibrant as the colors of the flowers they had sown. "Now, more than ever," John said, his voice ringing out, "we need to remember our purpose. We are not alone in this. We are all roots intertwined, sharing the burden of the storm together." Eleanor felt the strength of community rise within her. That's right, this moment is a testament. Just as the seeds will need water to grow, we too need this rain to flourish. Let us savor it. The rain softened just then, transforming into a gentle, soothing rhythm. A peace settled among them. Lila, still holding tightly to Mary's hand, beamed up at everyone. "Does that mean we can dance like the flowers?" A wave of laughter erupted, breaking the seriousness of the moment. They danced together, twirling beneath the shelter of the leaves, celebrating life even amid the storm. Each drop felt like a blessing, a reminder that growth often comes through challenges. "Lila's right," Eleanor said, catching the infectious joy. "Every challenge can be a dance, a chance to celebrate what is ahead." With each twirl, they released their fears into the night, letting the storm wash away their worries. It was a kaleidoscope of faith and trust enveloping them. However, as the last rays of sun fought to break through the remnants of clouds, a low rumble echoed. This time, it was the sound of something more than thunder. It reverberated through the roots beneath them, a calling that left them breathless. "Did you hear that?" John whispered, his eyes widen in wonder. "What could it be?" Mary mused, her heart quickening. Eleanor stood alert. An inexplicable anticipation filled the air, making her pulse quicken. "Something is happening," she breathed, her eyes scanning the horizon. Just then, a beam of light, pure and radiant, pierced through the dark veil of the storm clouds. It cast a warm glow on the quivering garden and illuminated their faces with divine tenderness. "What is that light?" Lila asked, mesmerized. Eleanor's heart raced. "It's a sign, my friends, a promise of what's to come. But what God had not yet revealed is about to unfold right before us." As they stood together in that sacred moment, they sensed that the journey was about to take an extraordinary turn. What awaited them in the wake of this divine encounter? The light enveloped the garden like a celestial embrace, cascading over each heart gathered there. Eleanor's spirit surged with hope as she turned to her friends, their faces aglow with wonder. "This is it," she exclaimed, her voice resonating with an urgency she could barely contain. "God is here among us." Lila's eyes sparkled like starlight as she pointed towards the radiant beam. "It feels warm, like a hug from heaven." Eleanor nodded, her heart swelling with joy. Could this be the moment they had all been waiting for? She felt the whispers of the divine in her spirit, urging her to step forward to share the promise of renewal that was starting to blossom in her heart. The winds shifted, carrying a sweet scent of earth and rain, mingled with the whispers of angels, a reminder that transformation often follows the storm. "Friends," Eleanor proclaimed, "let us gather our courage and embrace this moment. This light is not just for us. It's for everyone weary and lost. It's a beacon shining forth to lead those seeking hope." With that declaration, she stepped into the illuminated garden, her arms open wide, welcoming the divine warmth surging around her. The villagers followed suit, inspired by her faith. They formed a circle under the bright beam, hands clasped together, each heart beating in harmony like a drum, reverberating through the earth. "Lord, we gather not just for ourselves, but for all who need your healing touch." John led, his voice steady and resolute. "Let us be vessels of your love." As they prayed, the light intensified, swirling around them like flames of joy. It was as if the heavens themselves were responding to their faith, igniting something radical within their hearts. Just when the atmosphere was saturated with the sacred presence, Lila tugged at Eleanor's sleeve. "Look! The seeds!" she cried, her voice bursting with excitement. All heads turned to the garden, where the seeds they had planted began to tremble and shimmer. In awe, they watched as tiny sprouts broke through the soil, stretching upward towards the divine illumination, each tiny leaf unfurling as if in reverent salute to the unfolding miracle. It was as if the earth itself was awakening, answering their prayers and the cries of their hearts. "Can you see? New life, new beginnings," Eleanor proclaimed, her arms raised in joyous surrender. "This is our testimony, our promise fulfilled." The congregation erupted into cheers, a tidal wave of gratitude rippling through the gathered souls. Their praises mingled with laughter, ringing through the air like a divine symphony. Each person became a vibrant brushstroke on the canvas of their collective transformation. "Keep nurturing them," Mary encouraged, still exhilarated, "just as we nurture our faith. Water them with love, faith, and encouragement." Eleanor felt every heart pulsating with that shared desire. Together, they would cultivate this garden, not just of plants, but of hope. They were united in purpose, a community forged through trials, with each struggle sewn tightly into their faith stories. But as joy overflowed, Eleanor wondered how this radiant moment would affect Charles. Would he step forward with shared enthusiasm, acknowledging the divine light that was illuminating their path? Just then, a gentle voice broke through her thoughts. "What's happening?" It was Charles, standing at the edge of the gathering, his brow furrowed but eyes shining with their newfound clarity. He stepped forward, drawn like a moth to the flame, his voice shaking as he continued. "Is this real?" Eleanor held his gaze, her heart racing with hope. "Yes, Charles, this is the beginning of something incredible. Together, we're nurturing not only plants, but love, healing, and a promise to walk this path hand in hand. Will you join us?" Moments felt like eternity as he pondered, the light casting an ethereal glow upon him. Then, slowly, he stepped into the circle and clasped her hand. "I want to. I need to." Cheers rang out again, this time for the awareness of their unity as a family. The barrier of doubt started to dissipate as Charles was enveloped in the warmth of shared faith. Perhaps this moment would be the catalyst they had both yearned for, a chance to recommit and redefine their bonds. With renewed purpose coursing through their veins, they turned back to the garden, now filled with wondrous sprouts reaching toward the heavens. "These gifts grow not just for us," Eleanor said, her voice imbued with urgency, "but for everyone who needs to witness our miracle. We are called to spread this goodness beyond these walls, to share and nurture faith like we've never done before." The villagers nodded fervently, understanding the weight of her words. Together, they formed plans for a community gathering, a celebration of hope that would relay their testimony into the world, a divine gathering on the horizon. As the sun broke free from the clouds, showering the garden in golden light, Eleanor basked in the knowing that they had crossed a threshold. Their faith had ignited a flame, not just in the garden, but within their souls, a pact to stand together in love through every storm, to cultivate communion and resilience. Together they sang, each voice a magnificent note woven into the marvelous tapestry of faith, creating a melody that would echo and reach every heart yearning to believe, to heal, to grow. And so, as they celebrated their first fruits of faith, a radiant reminder gleamed above them, an invitation beckoning each soul present to step boldly forward into the wonderful mystery that was to come. Now, as this chapter reaches its divine conclusion, I urge you to join the journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive faith stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support makes a huge difference. Comment your reactions and testimonies about this ending. Connect with us. Your voice matters. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation. Be the light in their lives. You need to subscribe now because only true servants of God understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Don't wait even one more second to share.